All right, welcome back to Outdoor Adventures Podcast. We've got some special guests in the studio. These are the hunting legends in our family. So, got my Uncle Billy to my left, my dad straight ahead from me, and my Uncle Charlie. And so, these are the guys that taught us all how to hunt, that have taught us really everything we know. So, I'm just happy to be here with you guys. I don't even care what you say. Just being around you is always good for me. So, we were having fun before we started. They're ready for mission control to launch them to outer space with all this stuff on. So
we're set.
Yeah. So, we're telling hunting stories. That's the whole point of the podcast right now. And you guys have a lot of them. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Just talk how you would normally talk. Tell us some of your stories. And so I'm going to start with, and this is coming from Cousin Dylan. He wanted to know, we've all heard the story of Grandpa Milt in the Ochocos seeing all these deer crossing the road or whatever and saying, boys, we got to hunt here someday. So we want to know if you guys were there during that story, how that actually started, what happened. We'll start with you, Uncle Billy.
Yeah, I remember that very well. And I was just a little kid. I was just barely 5 years old, and we were moving from Everett, Washington. Not Everett, Washington.
Pilot Rock.
No. Oh, yeah.
We moved so much.
We moved from Washington, and we were living in Pilot Rock, and then we were moving from Pilot Rock to Sweet Home. And we were driving down the road, and I remember standing up on the seat, and I was just a little teeny kid, and I was probably standing between Sharon or Karen or something. I don't know. And Dad said, oh, and I thought it was sheep, because that's all I knew about wildlife was sheep, and they were deer. And there was a sign that said Little Hay Creek, and Dad said, we're coming back here to hunt this, because it was the whole road for like a mile of deer, at least, and they were just on hundreds of yards on each side of the road. It was the biggest pile
migraine,
of deer. Yeah. And I thought it was sheep, and Dad just went real slow, and we just negotiated through them, and they bumping into us, and you could see all the big racks. Oh, my God, it was something else. So that's why we started the Little Hay Creek.
Oh.
I'm surprised he remembered it, because it was years
before we went back.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be kind of hard to forget that.
Oh, man, it was something, I'll tell you that. And then the headlights went out on that car. He had like a 56...
DeSoto?
Was that a Lincoln? The red
No,
and
it was
black
a Lincoln. It was that red and black Lincoln.
Yeah, and we were piled in there like sardines.
Yeah.
No, that was
The whole family was in that?
all of us.
Yeah, we were making a run from wherever we were,
So all 9 kids?
Nine kids and Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was laying
don't
in the
know how.
floorboard.
on the
I
hump.
think half of us were laying in the floorboard.
Someone's
back
on the
seat.
hump. Someone's in the back window laying down.
Yeah.
That's the way we traveled.
Yeah.
We were modern.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
So when did you guys start hunting? What's your earliest memory of hunting?
I was like 13, and I had a 30-30, and we was at Little Hay Creek, and Dad just told me to follow that fence line, and so I went up the creek, and I went clear to the top of it, and that's when I threw the rocks over the deal, because he said, now, when the sun's on the sunny side of a hill, that's where they'll be laying. And so I picked up one rock, and I threw it over there. I didn't hear nothing. Then I picked up another rock, and I heard it, and it sounded just like you would to any big animal like that. It was the thunk of that rock hitting it in the side. But it was an elk, and I never even heard an elk at that age. I really never did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that thing just started crashing, and all I could see was those horns, and I was ready to shoot. And if I could have saw a head or a neck, I would have shot.
How about you, Dad? What's your earliest memory?
Well, time-wise, I always get it scrambled, but I was a little older than Billy, and then let's see, I think Kathy's brothers, said, no, you got to get a rifle, and they took me to Strawberry. And other than that, we'd hunt later on up the Calapooya when I was young, but I didn't shoot, I just rode along. And anyway, so we went up to Strawberry. Spent the night in the back of a pickup, froze, because it was a canopy on there. and it was pretty funny. And so we walked out, and it's cliffs in a shale rock. And so I slipped over the side and went down and was on this little ledge. I didn't realize how precarious it was until daylight came when the deer would start coming. And then I go, oh, this ain't good at all. I scratched my rifle just getting out of there because I'd go up about 5 feet and then I'd slide down the shale. And if I missed my little foothold, I would have been over that would have been it.
Yeah,
First and last
I wouldn't
time.
be here. Yeah.
No, it was that bad. But when I went, it was dark, and I was excited, and I just did what I shouldn't have done.
Well, and Strawberry Mountain was I don't think there's a deer season there anymore, but I think it was 3-point or better. So you had to shoot a bigger buck.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4. I can't remember. But, yeah, they had to be big bucks, and they were full of big bucks in that area. But anyway, Joey and Mike, we were just walking back, high noon, sun was out, and here's this buck. And so I'm letting them shoot because these guys were good at duck hunting. They never missed duck and geese. And they emptied their guns, and I didn't even shoot because I figured it'd drop. And then they start cussing because that deer just took off, and they're just cussing like crazy. So I take off running. And they said, where are you going? I said, I ain't going to sit here and cuss with you boys. I'm trying to get another opportunity. And so I went running like the wind, and then behind me I heard a branch snap. That deer went clear down all the way around us, and I don't know why it came back like that. But then I spun in the tall grass, and it was just moving its head back to line up with its body to take off, and then I shot because I just had the neck shot, That was it.
That was your first buck.
First buck. Yeah.
Good one.
Uncle Charlie, how about you? What's your first memory?
Well, it wasn't deer hunting. It was Brother Bob had a 22 single shot rifle he got. I think he worked
that one.
He got it when he worked at IGA, I believe, or somewhere.
No, I swapped a road race set for it at high school for Winford Gibbs.
Oh, okay. But that was kind of became the family gun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I stole it that morning, but I ended up with it, and I walked to the junior high school because you could buy from the principal's office a box of 22 shells for 25 cents. And so I went up there and I bought 5 boxes of 22 shells. And coming back, you had to walk clear across down through the swamp, and I seen a rooster pheasant. And I started being real close, and they'd run like crazy, and I'd catch up with it, and it'd fly. But it didn't have much of a place to go, so I'd catch up with it, and I'd take a shot at it and try to hit it in the head. And finally, I got it real close to the house, and boy, was I proud of that thing, bringing it home.
Well, yeah, what a different time when you could go buy 22 shells from your principal.
Yeah.
No kidding.
They had I don't know if it was in PE or...
No, it was in the gym.
Yeah, it was in the gym, but I don't know if it was for PE or was this after school.
They taught us all how to shoot.
They taught us how to shoot in the Sweet Home Junior High, in the gym, shooting at these wedge-shaped
Yeah.
With a
things.
22?
22s. Full size. There was like 15 people lined up with 22s, laying on their belly, and shooting these targets.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I say wow way too much on this show. I'm trying to work on that, but
Oh.
I don't know how not to on that one.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
So let's talk about what's changed over the years. So, something of interest to all of us was when you guys first started hunting over east. I'm guessing back then you could just buy a deer tag for the whole state of Oregon.
Yeah.
Or maybe you picked eastern and western eventually. Maybe you could kill a buck or a doe. Do you remember some of those
Well,
changes that
you
have happened?
You could, you bought your hunting license, and that was good for the whole state.
Yeah.
And your tag covered both sides. And then you could buy a bow tag. And then so you could harvest a doe, buck, whatever, anywhere.
Yeah, if you missed the rifle season, you could come back home and get your doe, or get the bow tag
If you didn't fill your tag.
if you didn't fill your tag.
So, yeah, there was everything. But we just take off and drive clear to eastern Oregon sometimes. Go up by China Hat outside of Bend, and we'd hunt that.
Hunt all the way back.
And then we'd hunt all the way back. And
Yeah.
if we didn't get anything over there, we'd cut up Canyon Creek. We've got them 2 big 4 points.
Or
up there.
Metolius.
Metolius would swing
Yeah.
in.
So you could hunt east side and west side.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You just
The
bought
whole
a deer
state.
tag and you
Yeah.
just started hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's still not like that. They can just put out a certain amount of tags, and then you draw and you get it, but you hunt wherever you want to hunt.
Yeah.
Do you remember when it changed?
Yeah, it was the our governor. What's her name?
Roberts.
Gosh.
Well, I remember I didn't like it when it changed.
No, she changed it, and she, for some reason, she put all of our information down to California. So when you'd call with a complaint or anything, you'd be calling California for Oregon law. Barbara Roberts,
Yeah.
she's the one that changed that.
Yeah.
And that was disheartening for me. I couldn't stand it no more.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
very difficult to not be able to hunt where you wanted to hunt.
So-
or like for us, our complaint is getting to go when we want to go. You know, where when we switched units, and we don't mention the unit we hunt in currently, but when we made that switch, we don't. You get that tag every 5 years, and that's a long time. You look through these books that we just looked at, and it's 15 years has gone by, and there's 3 hunts in there. And so
Yeah.
we've all done different things, and as families, I feel like we've all done different things to make sure we're still hunting, but it's just different than it used to be when we used to be able to go all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And and you looked forward to it every year or every other year, or, when we were kids growing up. And you guys always, we talked about this previously, you guys always really planned the hunt. You'd get together at Grandpa's house and you'd figure out what you're going to eat, how you're going to do everything. Talk about that a little bit, whoever wants to start.
Well, that's how we did it. We'd just
Yeah.
figure out how many days we were going to be. We'd just collect money. I went shopping with Dad one year, just me and Dad, and he liked really fine stuff, so and then we'd just figure out what the bill was, and everybody'd pay into it. And then,
Well, as long as you had enough eggs,
yeah,
we were all right.
Yeah.
we had to have plenty of
And ham.
Egg sandwiches.
Ham and tomatoes.
Whoever got that last eggs out of the pan ended up with a sandwich about a mile high.
Yeah.
So
But, yeah,
when he
we-
was done, yolk all over his elbows.
We always ate good. We
Yeah.
did. We always
Yeah.
ate real good.
Yeah, you guys were always good cooks. And let's talk about when us kids started coming. So now that I have kids, and Jason and Chris have kids, and Russell's got kids, it's fun to bring your kids, but it also changes the dynamic of your hunt. Because for me, hunting is an escape from everything. Yeah, the normal life. So once you bring your kids, it's the whole worlds colliding thing, right? You're bringing your kids into what used to be you want to teach them. And so let's talk. We'll start with you, Uncle Billy. Like when you first started bringing Jason and Chris, what was that like for you?
It was actually a lot of fun, except for they were so noisy, because you have these trails that you like to walk every year. We'd sit and camp, and I'm going to go that way in the morning. I'm going that way, and I'm going this way, where everybody knew where they were going. And I just remember Jason and Chris when they were kids. I'd say, you got to walk, and they'd just be concentrated, and I'd be about 40 yards ahead of them, and I'd look back there, and they were just creeping,
Trying to be quiet.
And
Yeah.
I said, you got to stay up with me, but you still got to be quiet.
How about you, Dad?
Yeah.
When you first brought us?
Well, yeah, I always hunted alone, usually, because it just was easier for me. I'd go out there and you get in your head, and it's quite the adventure because you're fantasizing all these monster bucks coming at you. It's either you or them. And what I'd like to do is walk out as far as I felt to go and go to sleep under a tree, and the chipmunks would be tattling on you because they knew you were there, and they'd start squawking around. But anyway, I'd always go to sleep out there just for a half hour or so, and then it'd be like a new hunt because everything changes. If you wait 15 minutes, the whole woods change. But I wanted to say something too. When you guys came, it was just like then I was more concerned for safety and all that kind of stuff. I had to worry more.
Yeah.
And that's on me. That's just my nature. I try not to, but that's not good. Well, when you said that thing about what's changed now from when we hunted, well, remember Charlie's story about shooting 22s in the gym and buying shells from the principal. I mean, think about it. And I took that road race set to the high school, and traded Winford for that 22 Charlie was talking about right there in the parking lot. It was not uncommon
Yeah.
No.
to have rifles in there or pistols or whatever you had.
Yeah.
Because people respected all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it was safe.
Yeah.
Most pickups had a rack,
A gun
in
rack.
the back window with guns on it.
Yeah.
You know,
How about you, Charlie, when you started bringing Robert and Russell?
I liked it a lot. We had the Honda 70s, and we just had a ball between hunts with the kids. And it seemed like it was, went real smooth, that transition. I didn't mind it at all.
See, those are my memories, was getting on the Honda 90s or 70s and shooting BB guns.
Yeah.
Uncle Billy would always tell us a clean camp is a happy camp. I remember that vividly. He would always keep us keeping the camp clean, and just you guys telling stories. Some of the stories that always stood out to me were that 5-point that was smiling at you, and you guys can talk about that one here in a little bit. And then when you had doe tags and you were missing just because you were shooting at does, that always is a memory of mine. And just listening to some of those stories was the best time for us as kids. And I've only brought my son a couple times, but I know the first time Russell brought his boys, it was so fun to have kids in camp because they're out there whittling or they're making primitive weapons with obsidian or, just it was fun to have that change from all of us crusty old guys,
Yeah.
So let's talk about that smiling 5-point.
Oh, that was a fun time. Me and Bob went out in the morning and we walked miles and miles across the desert, big empty prairies, and then there'd be gulches with all full of trees. Every now and then you'd see them, and we went a long ways, and we're walking back toward camp, and we're not exactly sure exactly if we're in the right area, but we were, and all of a sudden this buck come running from the timber line. It was down into one of those gutters, and it came running, and I went running out, and Bob said, "Hey, why don't you sit down? That bullet's going to travel a lot faster than you are." I said, "Oh yeah." So I was using Lucky's 270. It's a flat shooting and faster than hell, and I don't know. I guess it was about 150 yards.
It was out there, yeah.
And so I got down on my ass and put that gun in between my knees. So I just had a perfect shot. And I put the scope right on its black nose, hoping to get it right in the throat because I was used to my gun, my 06. And I squeezed the trigger off, and I just seen a giant water balloon blew up. That's what I seen in the scope. And that thing jumped up in the air, and its feet, it looked just like a cartoon. All 4 feet were just going,
That dust pile.
just rolling like crazy, and it took off. And I said, "Shit!" And Bob didn't wait around. He popped it, and knocked it down. Got a kill shot on it right there. All its teeth were blowing all over the place. Then an old man come walking up out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Out of those trees. While we were gutting it, and he goes, "Well, that's a nice buck." And he's the one that actually probably jumped it up.
Yeah, he did, I'm sure.
Because it came out of there running like crazy. It was running fast.
Yeah, we just, as kids, when you guys would tell that story, it was always, we had this vision, like you said, of a cartoon of the smiling 5-point running. I don't know why it was smiling in my head, but just because probably where you shot it.
Yeah,
Hit the bullet.
You know how like the road runner's feet would move when he jumps up and takes off. That's exactly what that thing looked like.
Yeah. It was a cloud of dust, and it came shooting out of that cloud. It was hilarious.
Dad, how about the year you guys had the doe tags over east? Talk on that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, Billy and I went there, and I didn't sleep because I was on graveyard at the mill, and Billy didn't get any sleep either, I don't think.
Not much.
So we went over there, and we were a little tired, coffeeed up, jittery, and so we said, well, yeah, we'll get a couple of nice does and we'll come back. And we just get into the area, and there's these beautiful, nice big does. Just a gift. We could have just shot them and went home. But we said, it's so early. And we started debating while these does are moving about. And then pretty soon we go, gosh, we really ought to take them. And by now they're just about ready to crest the hill, so it's getting more desperate. So we're going to take them. And so we both shoot, nothing, just nothing. And then we went up to where they were, and down a ways, and then there was this cliff, and we see no hide or hair of them. So we figured they had to be reindeer, and they flew off. So because we could not see where they went. It was wild. And then, so we go, okay, we got to get serious here. And then there was a coyote, and we remember that run, coyote run, just alongside the road. He wouldn't go into the brush, so we shot at him just to get him off the road, and oh gosh, that was funny. But anyway, then it was getting towards evening, and we said, we better get serious here. We were trying to hit him, but maybe not. I don't know what was the matter with us.
I don't either.
That was so weird, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
you couldn't figure it out. So anyway, I said, I'll bet if I just calm down and put my gun right where I know it hits, and so I did that on the next one. It just dropped like that. And then Billy shot at this one in the road. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was, I said, no, I think we're on, Billy. We're just not thinking that we want to get this animal. And so that really plays into
You were
it.
doe hunting,
Well,
not really serious.
Yeah,
Then the one you shot it right in the eye.
yeah.
It was on the road. And then you
Then I
think-
took your rifle.
Yeah, you grabbed the 30-30 because I was shooting Dad's big Weatherby, and I'm sure I was hopping over everything. I couldn't figure it out, but I shot like a box of shells without hitting nothing.
Well, you feel like you're shooting blanks sometimes when you're off like that. It's the weirdest thing.
I didn't realize Grandpa had a Weatherby. What caliber was he hunting with?
7mm,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a beautiful gun.
Same as Jason
beautiful
shoots.
Mark V. It was a nice gun.
Well,
I think Jerry has that, or had that gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's just talk about other memories, I guess, that you guys have. Go ahead, Charlie. Share a memory with us that comes to mind of a memorable trip or a deer or just anything in camp.
That hunt where they shot the smiling buck. I think it was opening morning. I walked up this. We were at a place we'd never been before.
Yeah, Rager.
And I just took an easy route and walked up this cat road, and oh gosh, went about 3 or 4 miles, I think, and I seen just the glint of a horn across this mesa. We were in the desert bush country, and I seen that, and I thought it was a deer standing. And then I watched it for about 30 minutes, and it was just standing there. So I thought, well, let me get a good rest here, and I'll shoot that thing. It was probably 250 yards away. So I shot, and it almost like that buck you're talking about, just like it ran in place, and it kicked up a cloud of dust so bad I couldn't see it. And I was waiting for it to clear, and that as soon as the dust cleared enough, that buck jumped toward me over this fence. I didn't even see the fence before that. So I shot as it was going over the fence, and it fell down dead. And apparently that buck was laying down with his arms kind of in front of him, his legs, and that bullet hit the dust and just made a little crease in his arm right there, went under him. And that was part of that cloud of dust, was that bullet.
Got him all fired up.
Yeah.
And that was that same trip.
That same trip.
Yeah.
And gosh, I had to drag that thing by myself, I think all the way back, or almost all the way back.
Was that the trip, too, where you guys fought the Yellow Jackets for a deer, or was that a different trip?
No,
That was Metolius.
Metolius.
And I think Charlie got the buck
Yeah.
in over in Little Hay. Well, no,
No.
it was on the way back to Prineville up
We-
that driveway.
No, we missed that
Oh
one.
yeah, that's right.
But that was a time where we hunted Eastern Oregon, and then we didn't get nothing there, so we come back into Metolius. We were driving in, and we seen a buck and a couple of does jump across
That's
the road,
right.
and you
Yeah.
guys let me out, and you were going to circle around. That was a interesting deer. That deer walked into that. It was real thick forest, and I just was standing there kind of scanning around, and that thing was silhouetted on the top of this hill, just perfect, looking at me. And that was kind of facing towards the Highway 20 over there, so I didn't really want to shoot. So I waited a few seconds, and it walked just down below, and like you guys shooting at those does, I had a perfect shot with my .6, and bam, and the deer just stood there like, what the? I thought, what? I mean, it was close.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez. I jacked another shell in there and, got on target then. But that was the craziest
And
feeling.
didn't the bees were all over it to
Oh,
where you guys?
well.
Yeah.
Well, that's after
Yeah.
we hung it. We hung it in the Metolius.
Right by Jack Creek.
Yeah.
Creek.
Right by a creek, which you don't want to do that type of
We
thing.
kind of hung it over the creek, really.
Pretty
Yeah.
close.
On a
It
limb.
was right there.
Probably
Yeah.
right by a yellow jacket nest or something.
Well,
Oh,
I
my
remember
gosh.
walking back, and Billy said, "I thought you skinned that thing because it had that many yellow jackets all over it."
Yeah. It's inside the deer bag.
So we took a tarp and we threw it down, and then we
Took the tailgate off the truck.
and we threw a rope around the deer's leg, and when we cut it down, you'd run in there and cut one rope and then run like hell. And when we finally cut it down, it landed on tarp, and we drug it into the pickup and just took off driving.
Yeah.
And
I've seen the pictures of the tarp and the tailgate and all that
Yeah.
because there is pictures of that where
Oh,
you're
I'll be
dragging that.
danged.
Yeah. That's why it's a memory for me.
There was a big ball of bees too in the deer bag, because it blew in the wind from the truck, and it,
yeah, we had
we
to
had
cut
to
it.
cut
We
it
had to
loose.
stop. And, yeah, I
Cut
remember
it and
that.
jump back in without getting stung. We were wrapped up like a bunch of
We
medieval bee.
yeah, we wasn't
beekeepers.
giving up our venison. We wasn't
No,
doing
No,
that.
but they chewed that thing all to pieces.
Oh, they
Gosh.
did. They tenderized it.
Well, if you think about our family and our hunting trips, we've been really successful, I think. I mean, we've had a lot of good success. I mean, there's been years where we haven't taken home animals, but all you guys are really good shots. I mean, you do miss. I mean, everybody misses every once in a while, but typically we've come home with meat, generally.
Yeah,
And I don't-
usually.
I think we're blessed in that way.
Sure.
But also, we do put some energy into it too.
Yeah, I never have missed with that Parker Hale I got. Never have missed with that
Yeah.
gun. And it's the only time I've ever done any missing is when I'm shooting another rifle that somebody say, try this one
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Or, and like that 270, I mean, that son of a gun will, if you put it there at 300 yards, it's going to hit there.
Yeah.
That damn thing's just so.
What, Lucky's gun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got
Very
a bull
nice.
barrel on it. It
It's-
was a target rifle.
Yeah. It's a good gun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Dang good gun.
I shot that hail bop at that. That was another deer that was silhouetted.
Well, you hit it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
did.
that's a story. That was. It was a long way. It was almost dark, and we was. I remember exactly where we were, but it was up on this long hill away from us, and that deer was silhouetted. I think there was another deer there, but
Yeah,
you
there's
could
two.
barely see it. And I had a good rest. I asked for his gun because it's always been right on for me. And I shot, and the deer just went, fell right straight down. And we left all our guns there. Chris, Billy, and I started walking up. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
We start walking up to that deer, way up that hill. We were all huffing and puffing, and that dang deer jumps up right in the middle of us and just stands there looking at us, snot hanging out of his mouth. And so we had no weapon at all, not even a knife. And the tree cutters had been through there, and they had cut some juniper just in chunks, and there was about a chunk of log, only about 4 inches around, but it had about a 6-foot limb stuck to it. And I grabbed that limb and pulled it loose from the ground, and I swung it about 4 times, and then whack, that deer right on top of the head. And Chris started going, it was a mess, man. It was terrible. We had to do something. And then it knocked it flat down. And then I had to do another swing. It started getting back up. So I swung it about 4 loops and then whack, and it killed it.
Wow.
Kill
And
it
is
dead.
that was that east or west?
East.
That's-
You
I've
gotta
never heard that one.
Tell
Oh, my
that story
gosh.
of that.
Somebody did have a knife because they reached in and jabbed it
After
I-
you clubbed
I
him
think-
down.
after the second hit.
Yeah, I think that was Jason.
What
with
about
you
that
that
arrow?
time.
No, it was Chris, you and I believe.
No,
Which one, Bob?
Chaz, when you shot that, you had one arrow left and no feathers in it.
Oh,
you shot it.
gosh. Had 2 feathers, and I'd shot that in practice. And
Yeah.
it made about a 3-foot loop as it was going through the air. I just came back from California
And you hit it right in the
with
butt.
my bell bottoms and platform
Paralyzed.
shoes.
Right in the butt.
And I missed the hunting season, so I had to buy a bow tag. And I went to Payless downtown and bought a Ben Pearson 55-pound bow. And
So
a
you
dozen.
Didn't, you didn't even own a bow. You were just
No.
like, I missed hunting
Never
season.
shot
I'm
it.
going to go buy a bow.
I never shot it.
And the
Never shot it.
technology probably then was a little different than
Yeah,
now.
it was just a long bow, you know.
Yeah.
And I bought a dozen hunting arrows with tips on them. And I was Mary's Peak, and I had shot every one of those arrows, but the crappy one that only had 2 feathers on it. I never did find any of the arrows either. And there was a doe standing in the middle of the road, and I pulled up like that and shot and hit it in the hip. And the arrow bounced right back out of it. I don't know what the heck went on there, but it knocked it down. And I went over there to it and had to jump on it and stab it in the throat.
I think it had a heart attack.
Something.
Or you paralyzed it or something.
It paralyzed it
weirdest
because
thing.
it just
Had to hit a
wham,
nerve.
and it just whoop.
Because
I thought it killed
you
it.
can see when we skinned it out, it went through the skin and then it made like a half-inch deep little hole.
Yeah, it didn't hardly go in.
But that was the weirdest thing I ever seen in my life.
yeah,
That was crazy.
Surprised.
But another time you had that my gun there, that 7mm, and we were over by Brownsville. We went up Scott Mountain, and you shot way down there at that buck.
Oh yes.
And he hit it right in the horns, and it knocked that bastard cold, and it just it bam down on the ground. And he I don't know, he was looking at something. I said, Charlie, get another shell in that. But I had that box of shells that had the mixed up.
Oh,
It was a short mag.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it wouldn't jack in there because I said, Charlie, that son of a bitch, this after about 2 minutes, I said, that son of a bitch is moving. And it jumped up and took off. There was nothing wrong with it. Didn't hurt it
Yeah.
at all. It just hit it right in the
Oh,
horn.
that was a nice buck.
Just stunned him and put him down for a little bit.
Did it
Knocked
get
it
away?
out.
Did it get away?
Yeah, got
Oh,
away.
gee.
It jumped over. We tried to find it for a long time.
Boy, but it, no,
Dazed and confused.
no blood or nothing. It hit it right in the
Totally.
horn, just knocked it
Yeah.
out.
Wow.
Totally. I thought it was a doe. It had its head in this fir tree, a little brand new planted fir tree.
Yeah.
And I had the doe tag. So I was going to shoot for the head, you know, because I kept waiting for the head. And then when the popped out, that daggum horn come out, I thought, oh, man. And then I must have pulled up a little bit, got excited, and hit it in the horn. I thought we were high-fiving, and we were plans.
gee,
We
yeah.
had this much time. He said, I'll sit here in the truck and then you go around the bottom where it's at, and I'll
Yeah.
point you, because it was brushy.
So you
where
wouldn't
it's
lose
at.
it, yeah.
And so we started doing that, and then the damn thing jumped up. And
It was
oh,
crazy.
boy.
Now, you guys all went on a hunt this last year. What has changed for you as far as just your experience, what it's like for you to go out there and do it now? Obviously, we know some things have changed in the deer population, but, you know, what's different from the old days?
I don't think too much. I think it was just as much the same feeling was there for me. Just, I really felt
I think
good,
it gets
but
better every time.
I was getting down. I was getting healthy wise. I was getting down in the gutter, so it was a little that was different for me.
Yeah, that's harder.
But
sure.
I'll get better on that. That's what I'm working on now is my health.
What about desire? I mean, Dad and I talk about this every once in a while. It's like, and I'm only in my 40s, but I'm already I don't have as much desire to take an animal as I used to when I was younger. You know, like really when you're really young, you're like, man, I really want to go get a deer.
Yeah.
And now I want to go on that
I
experience.
just want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea of bringing home meat. I mean, I'm happy to take a deer,
Yeah,
but
that's just a bonus.
that drive is not what it was when I was
Oh
younger.
no! Gosh, when I was a kid, I remember that you just almost stay up all night just so you could beat it.
Yeah.
And you'd go out there and just freeze your ass off. And as soon as that sun started coming up, you'd go, "Wow!" It got colder.
Well, too, I think, when you're young, you're disappointed if you come home and don't get one. You say, doggone it, I wanted to get a deer. And now, if you get one and say, doggone it, I got one. Now I got to go clean it and dress it and stuff. Because now I'm just as happy. I said, I grab a taco on the way home, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know?
no, that's true.
You
That's
can't
very
hardly
true.
eat it, so you got to monitor that because you don't want anything to waste, So.
But it's nice to have one. I don't care if it's a little deer or whatever. Just one deer in camp, so you can.
Oh, yeah.
Have meat if you want it, or let
Yeah.
the kids work
Yeah.
on it. You know.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
like
gotta
to have one deer in
hang it,
camp
for sure.
That's kind of important to me.
Well, that one year we went over where we went, that we got 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even.
That was great.
You couldn't even leave camp with somebody else not saying, "I got another one. We got to hang it up."
We didn't
Yeah.
eat. We didn't eat for a few days there.
No,
It was
worked.
a game processing plant.
Oh, my
yeah, I
God.
remember that.
Yeah.
that
Oh,
was
my gosh.
fantastic. We
What a
were
trip.
right in them.
Yeah.
Well, I was shooting that gun that was all messed up. It was like a pipe with a nail and a rubber band.
Oh, I remember.
You know,
that
it was
thing.
about that
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
I let Charlie shoot in case it was all me, and
No.
he said, "It ain't you."
I was close too.
I know.
That was a deer experience right there.
Oh, that was horrible. I do not like that, and that's why you should prove your weapon and make sure you're confident in your rifle.
Yeah.
That's a must.
Just something about
I
having
tell
a
that to
rifle
every young guy.
that fits you and everything
Yeah.
else. And then somebody will say, "Well, hey, why don't you take this one? I ain't never doing that again."
No, I've done it, and I don't want to do that again.
Well, and the confidence in your gun, like you were
Yeah,
talking about your gun,
right.
Uncle Billy, you never miss with that one. And Dad's 243. I mean, that thing, I go to sight that in every year. You fire one shot and it's on the bullseye.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what's your go-to gun, Charlie?
I'm in between. I don't have a go-to gun. I had my original 30-06 I bought when I was 15 or 16, and I shot that thing. It's a revolution. I shot it forever and killed a lot of deer with it, but it just started going. I don't know. It wasn't as accurate anymore.
It's like mine.
Yeah, it
My
just
06.
his went bad too, and I don't have one. I'm using Lucky's 270 because it's a tried and true.
That's the one I'd get to know, Charlie, because that thing is
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
just
it's
like that Parker
awesome.
Hill. It's accurate.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for some kind of gun, for a different gun.
Are you dreaming about a caliber?
I'd like to have a 270 Roberts. I don't know why. I just like that name.
Yeah.
Or 275 Roberts, or 270. I don't remember. I like that. And there's
But no,
several
I'll tell
different
you.
calibers I like.
No, that 270 there, that Lucky gun. I'm not kidding you. That's just like that Parker Hill I got. It's that way.
Yeah.
And but I just never wanted to get too used to it because it's just heavier than hell because
Oh, yeah,
it's
it
got
is.
that big bull barrel on it.
Yeah,
It's-
dust or
you,
Lucky's
so you
too.
can
It's-
shoot that thing for. Well, with my .6, I go out and I shoot it once. It's a bullseye at 100 yards every time.
Yeah.
The first shot.
Yeah.
The second shot's going to be 6 inches wherever the hell it wants to be, and you can't. It will not correct, and you don't want to correct
Same
it.
as mine.
So
Wow.
I'm going to
that's
try
bizarre.
that. I'm going to try that cleaning stuff they got.
Yeah,
they
it
got a
helped.
new cleaning
It really
stuff.
helped
I'm gonna
mine.
Try that
It's
out.
that copper something you pour down the barrel, blue stuff.
It helps
It did
to-
work for mine.
Clean your weapons. You know, have them.
Because man,
But I did use,
one shot, and the next one is it's 12 inches
That's
off.
no good. I
Either
did
high,
use,
low, right, left.
Robert had a 270 that he was in North Carolina, so I used his for like 4 years. That was really good too. I sent that to him in the mail.
Has he been hunting in North Carolina yet?
No, but he said he had somebody to hunt with, and he wanted me to send those guns to him. But boy, was that a mess. That was about 3 weeks of fight
I'm
to try to get
surprised.
those sent.
I'm surprised you even got it done.
I am too.
With the
Yeah.
way
It's
shit's going in this country
crazy.
these days.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of whitetail over there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of deer there. Yeah. He goes to work. I think he drives an hour to work every day. And there's deer every day on both sides of the road. And there's a lot of them hid on the road.
And that's fun for me is just seeing deer. Like on my place, there's always does running around, and I'll see a buck every once in a while. And I just like seeing deer.
Oh, yeah.
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 And we've talked about this on the show before, but as kids growing up, whenever we'd see you guys, we just wanted to talk to you about the next hunting trip. I mean, I don't feel like I ever talked to you about hardly anything else. I'd see you at a family reunion, and I'd be like, "Where are we going next year? What are we gonna do?"
Well, hey, where are we going next year?
That's it.
Boy,
I don't know.
I think let's go to the same place we went last year. We can get that. We don't have to wait 5 years. And there's plenty of area in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that road that was all you couldn't drive in, we could walk that whole deal if we're up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You know, that when we seen all those deer when we were moving down here,
Yeah.
and that's the migratory herd, and we hit that over there that one year too, when the ranger said it sounded like Vietnam up there.
Oh, right.
Because there were that many deer, they got into them.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think the deer numbers have gone down since the old days?
Here they have in the valley for sure.
over
In
there
this
too,
side.
though. I remember walking up Little Hay Creek Trail in the morning. I'd count 80 deer. We would all count 80, 90, 100
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah.
And you'd never see all their heads, but, you'd see them jump up and their white butts taking off, and
Yeah. A lot of does, but there'd be bucks in there.
there'd
Sure.
be bucks in there.
It seems like there's more bucks though per does than there used to be. We used to see, like you say, 40 or 50 does each going out to hunt, and only maybe a few spikes.
Yeah.
And now, if you see 5 deer, one of them's a buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that even in my neighborhood. All the does always have bucks. All the babies are bucks, and I don't know why. And then like the elk on the refuge by my house, they're all bulls. So that herd was 13 animals, and now it's 10, and there's like 6 bulls.
Wow.
So it's those cows are just
Do they let you hunt that?
no. It's the Ankeny Wildlife Refuge.
Oh.
They're cool to see though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What else can we talk about? We don't have to keep
Well,
talking.
have you ever seen the elk out there? What's the name of that road? Old Brownsville Road.
Or that old school road.
Yeah. And you're heading toward Brownsville, but it's just
It's
little
something
road.
school road.
There's 60, 80 elk out there.
Denny
They'll be
School?
right on the road.
No, not Denny.
And I would drive that way on my way to work, and and the elk would be trying to cross, and so I'd head up on them, and they'd stop, and they'd all get back in the field. They had to cross the road and 2 fences, and then they'd start crossing again. They'd look at me like, "You son of a bitch!" I'd just play with them so I could just look it up. Oh, they were so beautiful.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, it's amazing
There's
to
more
see it.
elk here now than there used to be.
Yeah, there is.
And then the deer population has gone way
Yeah.
down. But we don't have access to the hunting like we used to.
No.
Snow Peak
Oh,
is
yeah.
no good, and you can't hardly go any place anymore.
Well, these big timber companies, you have to buy a permit to hunt
Yeah.
their property
Yeah.
and things like that.
What would it take to get a hold of the game commission, a bunch of guys, older guys, and sign a deal and say, we want this law. If you're 65 or older, you should be able to hunt anywhere in the state if you got
Yeah.
a tag. Why don't you do that for
That's
the
a
old
good
people?
law.
I mean, I just
that's
bought
a good
my,
I'd vote
idea.
for that.
Yeah, I just bought my $6 license for this year. That's a nice benefit, but
That
Yeah.
is.
you got to let me hunt with the limited years I got left,
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we talk about that too. It's like you only have so many hunting seasons,
Yeah.
and why not let you get out there and
Sure,
you're
yeah.
not going to be going 30 miles.
I mean, I wonder if
No.
anybody's ever brought that to them. I don't see why not.
I don't even know.
Do you remember that time elk hunting, Uncle Charlie, where I was driving on the highway and I happened to have my window down and I heard you yell Sam from the top
Oh,
of the
yeah.
hill? Do you remember that
Yes,
story?
sure, I remember that.
Tell us your
Scary.
version of that, because I've talked about it before. But
Oh,
I don't
gosh.
know. I felt like that was a miraculous moment to even hear you.
It was crazy. Well, I had headed out that morning hunting, and I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day of hunting. We were pretty tired, and I went behind the camp, our normal place, and got clear to the top. And they had done some logging up there. The roads changed, and so I, went the easiest path. And I started heading down the other side. I knew it was towards that road, but I figured that was 10 miles away. And I got turned around, and then I absolutely was lost. I just, followed some tracks and got on things and thought I was going to get an elk because I heard him. And I ended up totally lost and checking my pockets for matches, and I found a water source. I figured I was going to spend the night, and I heard the highway down there. This is from after hours of wandering around,
I remember the whole deal.
and I seen Sam's Suburban or
Yeah, it was a
Explorer, or
burgundy
something.
Tahoe. Yeah.
I seen that burgundy coming there. It was a long ways. I was still up on top of the hill, And I hollered, Sam, just screamed, a couple times. And it stopped. And I said, what the hell? And so I started running, man, down there.
That was crazy.
Going
That
across
was
that
that cow
field.
elk hunt. Yeah, it was November. It was snow every day.
Yeah.
And I just happened to, I don't know what happened. I don't even know my window was down. I happened to have it down, and I heard my name. And I told my brother, I go, I think I just heard somebody yell Sam. And he goes, no, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pulling over. I heard my name.
Yeah, you've heard that.
Man, that's a good thing you stopped.
Well, and then you come down that, and you were coming fast
Oh,
down that
gosh,
hill,
yes.
and then I'm like, it's Uncle Charlie.
I was lost, man, tired.
Oh, I remember right where you were.
That
That's
was a
where me and
miracle.
Bob drove that red 74 pickup up that thing.
No.
We drove it up that. We couldn't even see.
Well, you drove up there to
The
get
road.
my cow. Remember?
Yeah.
Because I had shot my cow, and it was the two of you. But Dad was. I don't think you were there that year.
I wasn't.
And you came squirreling up that. We had gotten that elk, and we kept radioing it. We got one down. You know,
Was the red pickup, wasn't it?
yeah, and you guys came flying up that road.
Yeah, we didn't know you was up there till you had that thing. You drug it a long ways.
Yeah, we did.
And but where me and Bob went was where them two guys took their little girls, and
that was a different
these girls
thing,
were like 14 and 15 maybe, and they had, well, I don't know what they had, semi-automatic. I mean, they just went ape shit on a herd elk because they caught them up on top, and me and Bob just hit the ground. It was crazy.
That was a previous. Yeah, I remember that year too.
Yeah.
There was a lot of elk that year.
Oh yeah,
'Cause I remember there was a lot of cougar activity too.
Oh, yeah. We followed that one trail. And
yeah.
we said, what are we doing? It was a big paw print,
Well, I gotta get, boys. I do. I gotta head out.
Well, we'll do this again. It was fun. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot more stories that you guys could tell us.
Oh, I know. I was
And-
thinking of a lot of stories.
I was too.
We got a lot.
I got a lot.
We do
Yeah,
got
we'll
a
definitely
lot.
do this again.
That's a neat album there. That's
Yeah.
neat as hell.
You know, and it'd be fun to do it with your kids. You know, if you wanted to bring Russell on, you want to do it with your boys, or however you want to do it. I think it'd be fun. And me and Dad and my brothers, we could do one too. So
No, it's kind of nice.
it's great having you guys here.
Energized.
Yeah,
It
well,
was fun.
thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you guys.
Good.